This is the Russian Dynamite, Masha Slamovich.
Becca here.
This is Not America's Sweetheart, Davian. And
It's Billy Starks. And
the super fly guy, Trayvon Jordan.
This is the fly side flyer, Jalen Brandon.
Hardcore Princess, Jules Malone.
Hi there, this is the Bubblegum Princess, Alexia Nicole.
This is the Brazilian Wonder Woman, Christy Jane.
This is the baddest black belt, Chennai Kai.
This is Kid Bandit.
The smash hit Joel Bateman.
This is Robin Renegade.
Cody Hawk.
Brutal Bob Evans. And you are listening to Wrestling with Entertainment, one of my favorite podcasts in the whole wide world.
Hi, this is Tim, the Finnish Ref, and you're listening to Wrestling with Entertainment.
Hello, and welcome to the show. It's Wrestling with Entertainment, the only audio experience on the website, the trusted choice for interviewing all your favorite wrestlers every Tuesday and Wednesday on YouTube and Castbox, sponsored by Rogue Energy and Player One Coffee. I am, of course, your host, James J., and it's a great day for wrestling, because we are wrestling with Teemu Kytösaari.
Hello.
Was I anywhere in the ballpark of pronouncing your last name?
Close enough. It's Teemu Kytösaari, but I am used to people having difficulties pronouncing my name. So when I was in the United States, I told people to just call me Tim. And that's where my handle comes online as well, FinRef Tim.
Perfect. I'll call you Tim for the rest of the
interview. That's fine.
Where can we find you next event-wise?
Our next event will be February 21st in Vantaa. Our Slam Wrestling Finland are having our Super Slam 2, our annual big event. And other than that, you can find me at FinRefTim on social media, and follow us on Fight TV, Triller TV, for every Slam Wrestling Finland event.
And you personally as well?
Yes, at FinRefTim. That's my handle on YouTube. That's my handle on Twitter or X these days, and Instagram. So I am all those channels. I apologize. I'm not very active on X, but active on social media in general. But those are where you can find me for whenever I post something of interest.
And merchandise?
That would be, the link is on my Instagram. I honestly don't remember that. I honestly don't remember my handle there, but it is on my social media channels too.
Okay. And you don't even have to go looking for it. All of the links to all his social media will be in the description of the video below, but on YouTube and Castbox. Alright, let's get into it. You work for Slam Wrestling and Starbuck. Can you tell us about your relationship with the company and the man himself?
Yeah, I've been there since day one. Slam Wrestling Finland started in 2018, but obviously Starbuck has been running wrestling in Finland for a lot longer than that, since the millennia. Early 2003, I think, was the first shows he arranged in Finland during other earlier promotions, and he's been in many ways it's been a interesting journey with him these 11 years that I've known him, that I've been in wrestling myself, from seeing him as pretty. He can be a pretty intense dude. He's one of those people that when you meet him, I could see how people could be almost intimidated by him, because he's such a strong presence. Right. He's a very colorful personality. He's a very self-confident man, and he has this kind of aura about him that kind of makes him both fascinating, but I can understand making him also very intimidating to certain people. But I respect him greatly as a wrestler, as a human being, because he has always been honest with me. He has always been respected me, and he. You don't have to agree with him, and I certainly don't agree with him on a number of things. But you can always talk to him, and he will not look down on you if you like see him eye to eye. He's a very old school kind of guy that way, and I think in many ways he has. Even though I'm not a wrestler myself, I would say that he has shaped me up in many ways, because you want to surround yourself with the kind of people that. I mean, the old saying goes that if you want to see your future, look at your friends. Like you want to surround yourself with the kind of people that are going somewhere or are successful. And he's the kind of person that I believe like people should have around them in wrestling. He's a very positive influence on my career and on many others' careers.
All right, absolutely. Now, correct me if I'm wrong here. I mean, you are based and located in Finland. But
That's right.
You started training in pro wrestling in Atlanta, Georgia, USA, correct?
Yep, that's correct. I started out in WWA 4 in Atlanta, Georgia. It was at that time in 2013. It was run by Curtis Hughes, and I was, in many ways, it was a matter of killing two birds with one stone, because I was looking to get into the wrestling business, and I also simply wanted to visit the United States. So I had never done that before, and it was one of those things that I absolutely wanted to do. It's just as a bucket list thing, if nothing else. I really wanted to go there, and so I figured this was a very, very simple way of combining those things. And one of those things, when I tried to find a good wrestling school, was like find someone with a good reputation, find someone who has been on TV, has been a legitimate professional wrestler, who has done this for a living on a mainstream level, on a big platform. And that was Curtis Hughes certainly filled that those criteria. And that's how it got started. I spent 90 days in a WWA 4 on a tourist visa, and trained 4 or 5 days a week. It was the most sweatiest thing I've done in my life. I was probably the best shape of my life back then, because I'd been training around 18 months beforehand, trying to get in the best shape possible, because the last thing I want to do is when I go over there to Atlanta, that I'm just in such a lousy shape that like I'm just going to waste my time once I get there. And I never had intentions of becoming a wrestler myself, but I figured it is important for me to learn the basics. So, and I think that it is important in general for anyone who works in wrestling you want to get as much knowledge and as much experience in every part of wrestling as you can. And referees should learn the basics of wrestling, and wrestlers should learn the basics of refereeing, in among other things. And I think that was a valuable thing to learn. And my original plan was to become a manager. And I, at the school and also afterwards, I have heard that my promos are pretty good. But life took a different turn, and as I was at the school, I remember we were going to have one of our shows. The school ran weekly, and the referee for the evening was sick, and he wanted me to tell Hughes that he couldn't make it. And I told Hughes, and I filled in for Hughes. I covered for because he was a friend of mine, the wrestler, or the referee, excuse me. And I told Hughes that I'll be the referee, I'll cover for him. So even though he wasn't happy about the other guy no showing, but he let me referee the show. And afterwards he said, "All right, man, you got the job." And so I refereed for the remainder of my time there on the shows. And for the longest time, even when I came back to Finland, it wasn't something that I seriously considered. It wasn't something long-term that I was thinking about doing. It was just something, I'll do it when I get a foot in the door, and I'll work myself from there to become a manager. But then I got feedback from the wrestlers and started like that. You're so good. We want to keep you as a referee. Oh, well, damn it. I'll just stay a referee then. And in 2015, the final piece of the puzzle to my refereeing career came when I was on a seminar with Earl Hefner. He had a seminar in Stockholm, Sweden, and I traveled there. And during the show that we ran as part of the seminar, I went to talk to him as he was going to referee the main event, and I just wanted to just talk to him a little bit and wish him good luck with the match. And as I went to talk to him, he pulled me aside during the chat and said, like, "You're good. You're probably the best one here." And hearing this from Earl Hefner was unexpected, and it was basically the I mean, it was kind of the validation that I needed to start pursuing refereeing more seriously, and that's the path I've been on ever since.
All right. I mean, there's a lot to unpack there. I mean, first and foremost, what were kind of the differences you saw in pro wrestling in America compared to doing it in Finland?
Well, there are certain very big differences. Obviously, one of the big differences is that there is no wrestling culture or wrestling history in Finland. We are building it as we speak.
Right.
Like wrestling in Finland is, I mean, only roughly 20 plus years has been wrestling events have been organized here in Finland. I mean, even before that, there have been certain Finnish, if you dig into the archives, there have been certain Finnish wrestlers in like early 40s and before that who went to the United States and wrestled there, touring the country, and certain touring circus acts or wrestling acts toured the Finland in the 1900s. But this is something very, very obscure that most people have no knowledge of. It was basically like the old Carney days where you the strong man would challenge someone from the crowd and he was a plant, and then another volunteer would then show up and the strong man would quickly defeat him and everyone would get paid. So they used to do that way back when. But yeah, around 20 years is what we've been doing here in Finland. And for most people in Finland, they don't even have a clue that there is professional wrestling in Finland. It is still very unknown after all these years. Most people have no idea it is available in Finland. And for most people, wrestling is WWE and Hulk Hogan and The Rock and Stone Cold and John Cena and Rey Mysterio. Those are the names you might know. And Ludwig Borga from the 90s. Some people might still remember because Ludwig Borga was Tony Halme, as his real name was a very big personality in Finland. He did all kinds of stuff, but wrestling was only a brief part of that. And most people probably remember him for being a boxer. He was a member of the parliament. He wrote books, and he was a very colorful personality. So, but those are like the most basic stuff people know of if they know anything about wrestling. Another thing that is very, very different from the United States compared to, well, I would say the Nordics, not just Finland, but the Nordics, is that most companies do not pay their talent in Scandinavia. Most companies that run are more like sports clubs, and they are run as non-profits, where because frankly most of the time the money simply isn't there because the crowds are very small.
Right.
And I know what you're going to ask. Most people are going to ask, like, but what do we do if something happens to one of the wrestlers? Well, luckily we have universal healthcare in the Nordics, so it is completely different from having to pay for your own insurance or lacking insurance and then getting hurt in the ring. So that is one of those big fundamental differences. Is like for many people they wrestle out of the passion for it, but there's very little drive to go abroad or maybe try to turn this into a business or look at this from a business point of view. And I mean, that's not necessarily a bad way of looking at things. I mean, this is kind of like what CM Punk was talking about in the podcast, where he was talking about some people biggest goal in wrestling is to get a five-star match from Dave Meltzer, but that's not his goal. His goal is to make money. And you can kind of see the difference there too. Like some people, they have different goals. They want to create moments. They do it out of the passion for the business, passion for wrestling, and other people, they look at it from a different angle. They are passionate, but they also want to make a living out of this. And sometimes, and there are those points of views make very different approaches to how you conduct your business, so to speak.
Right. How did you like Atlanta, Georgia? What was the experience like being in America?
Oh, I love being in America. It was very, in a sense, it was a culture shock. In a sense, it was kind of how I expected. But because in a sense, I mean, for especially many Western countries, I mean, the United States, I mean, it's so ingrained from movies and pop culture in general. You have this idea of what the United States is like, and it is very big contrasts between the rich and the poor, and there are very wealthy places, very poor places, very how should I say, very like iconic places, locations. I went to Graceland while I was visiting in the United States. One of the wrestlers invited me to Memphis over the weekend, and we went to Graceland, and that was kind of like one of those. It was a very, in a sense, very surreal being there, because it is one of those. It's just one of those places that for me, it felt very surreal being there. At least I'm not a big Elvis fan per se, but just Elvis is so iconic,
right.
And being at Graceland, being actually at his place, it felt very surreal, and that was kind of my experience with the United States in general. It felt both very surreal, but also very, at the same time, it felt like as a very familiar place in many ways. I think that's the long and short of it, basically. For me, in general, like where I stayed in Atlanta, it was one of the less well off places. It was the wrestlers told me, like, don't go anywhere where it gets dark. Don't go anywhere alone when it gets dark. And I'm like, oh, okay. This is very unfamiliar to me where I'm from. I mean, like, there's nowhere in Finland where I would be worried about going anywhere alone at night.
Right.
and I mean things like that. I mean, I know there are places in the United States that can be dangerous, and I'm not naive that way, but it was very different for me to have to like adjust to that mindset, and especially when you saw the other wrestlers that were more familiar with the with the way things are. Like one of the other wrestlers at the school he was a former gang member from Memphis, and he had been shot in the leg, and he had to leave Memphis. And I mean, that's just, I mean, like completely, like I can't even imagine the kind of life that he has been living. And even though he tells me, it's like, it feels so surreal to me, because I mean, Finland is such a safe place. It's like boringly safe in many ways. And for me, like, stuff like this, I mean, just doesn't happen here. So it was interesting, and also very, very surreal, like I said.
What was you eating in America? Curious.
What was my what now?
What was you eating in America?
What I was eating?
Yes.
Anything and everything, really. I did make a habit of trying to go to all the fast food joints that are not available here. I mean, of course, we have our McDonald's, you have your Subways, you have Pizza Hut, and Taco Bell is here. But like being able to go to Whataburger when I went to Alabama and visited some of my distant relatives, and Golden Corral and IHOP, and like that was also like, that's also the big part of me about going to America, was being able to go to these places and eat. And like I've had discussions with American wrestlers, when they come to Europe, and they say that they love the food in Europe because they think it's much more pure and much more organic and healthy here. And I can agree with that, but I honestly like the taste of food in the United States better in many ways, because if nothing else, like American food places, like I mean, if nothing else, the food tastes good. Of course, there are better and worse places. Like probably the worst hamburger from McDonald's I had was in Atlanta, ironically enough, and. But most places, it's like, I mean, the competition for your money is much bigger in the United States. So you can't, in a sense, you can't be half-assing it, so to speak. Whereas in Finland, it's not. In many ways, it's like most places taste pretty much the same here. I mean, not bad per se, but you can tell that there's not similar kind of competition for your money, so to speak.
I gotcha. All right. And I mean, you mentioned him, Earl Hefner, saying you were maybe the best one there. What did that mean to you, to have, obviously such an iconic referee, acknowledge you like that?
I mean, it was. At the same time, it's kind of one of those things, like, yes, I mean, it was validation, but at the same time, it was so, like, such a pivotal moment for me, like getting that kind of feedback from him, because then I genuinely started to think, like, I could actually start doing this seriously. I should actually start focusing on this, because, like, who knows how far I could go with this thing. And then it kind of started rolling from there, and it has at the moment I've been to 8 countries refereeing, and I hope to fill in more. Of course, there was a bit of a break since due to the whole pandemic, and but like hopefully things are gonna be on the up and up, so to speak, this year. For instance, we're going to be in April. We're going to be the Slam Wrestling Finland is going to go to Sweden, our first show there, for instance. And we've been to Estonia before. And me personally, I was in Germany like was it a week or two before the pandemic started? I went to WXW and refereed a match there, and I mean, it is so. If nothing else, I think it's very important to try to get out there and not just challenge myself, but also to, in a sense, getting the word out there about the Nordic wrestling scene and the Finnish wrestling scene. But because for a lot of people, they don't even know we exist, and I think people are slowly starting to discover us. Like Alice Inc., for instance, from Sweden, has been a very big name from the Scandinavia, from the Nordics, and I think like we have some very good wrestlers here that most people they don't really know about or that are sleeping on, and we're hopefully try to get the spotlight on them.
Oh yeah. And a shout out to Alice, friend of the show.
Yes, and I want to also mention Jack Veneno on it separately. He's been on your show as well, and he's also one of those I love Jack because he's a very young wrestler, but you can tell that he gets it. Like the way he moves in the ring, the way he works his matches, even though he only has at this point maybe a dozen or 20 matches under his belt, like very few at this point. Oh, yeah. But you can tell, even with that amount of matches under his belt, you can tell that he understands wrestling in a way that someone starting that is on his level shouldn't yet understand. But he just immediately gets it, and it's fantastic seeing him and knowing that the potential this guy has, and I think I honestly think he can go far if he just stays the course and keeps on learning and keeps on growing, because if he's this good at this stage of his career, I mean, who knows where he can be 5 or 10 years.
Oh yeah, definitely a lot of potential. If Starbuck didn't hear the interview, he might not kill him afterwards.
Yeah. Jack can have a mouth on him. That is true.
But I mean, that's how you make it in pro wrestling, is having them out on you. I mean,
yeah.
I mean, ask Kevin Owens.
Yeah, I mean, Kevin Owens, CM Punk, Eddie Kingston, John Moxley. I mean, those are just off the top of my head guys that they are so excellent on the microphone, excellent promos, and I mean, because wrestling in many ways it is so simple yet so complicated, because you only really have to need to do one thing, just one thing, and that is to make me care. That's really all you have to do. Make me care, and then everything else will follow. But when you put it that way, it sounds so simple, and in many ways it is. But making people care can be surprisingly hard, especially if you make it hard. Because I think the thing about Punk and the thing about Eddie and the thing about John Moxley is when they do promos, I mean, they don't really cut promos so much as they just speak from the heart. They're just very genuine in many ways. They don't have to pretend so much. Even though what they say, obviously, some of it is half truth, some of it is lies, and some of it is just just manipulating the audience to be hooked on the story. But they believe it enough that I believe it, and that's the key, basically. Because everything else afterwards, if you don't hook the crowd, if you don't make them care about what happens, then nothing you do in the ring really matters. I mean, you can try to hook them then, but that's an uphill battle at that point.
Right. Now you mentioned, working for WXW. Obviously, the biggest wrestling company in Germany right now. What was
Yes.
that experience like?
It was uh, it was very it was very eye-opening in a sense that it really is important for, I think, not just referees but wrestlers too. It's like you need to get out of working familiar places. It's sort of like it's so easy to get stuck in a rut, or like just working your home promotion or your home territory, whatever you want to call it, or whatever however you're working. For some people, they just work one town and that's it. For some people, maybe they just work one small country and that's it. And I think it's very important for people to get out there and go to places where they don't so maybe know anybody, or maybe they're not known as much, and just experiencing how different the promotions can be, how different the shows can be, how different the mentalities backstage can be. And I really enjoyed WXW because it felt it was a very professional company. I mean, because I mean, I don't want to like toot my own horn, but like in Finland, many people that have come visited in Finland have said that the Finnish companies, they are very well run. But I have been to some awful companies. I won't name names now, but I have been to some companies where it is just it's just chaos. We're backstage and people have no idea what's going on, and by some miracle the ring is finally set up before bell time, and then things happen in the ring, and hopefully nobody dies before it's over. But WXW, I really enjoyed how well run it felt, and how professional it felt, and being able to work with Ilya Dragunov, and also being able to meet Tassilo Jung, the main referee there, and Rainer Ringer, and also Walter Gunther was there running Gorilla, and was being able to meet them, and getting their thoughts, getting their feedback was very, very valuable.
I mean, yeah, I could imagine. One of the distinct honors you had refereeing is that you got to referee a Ring of Honor title match. Obviously, a championship with a lot of lenience behind it. What was that experience like, and what does that kind of mean to you?
Oh, it meant a lot. It meant a lot being the first in Finland, maybe the first in Nordics to referee a legitimate world championship of that level, and in a sense, it is there is a. I mean, I wish it was like all good, because when I refereed that match, Jonathan Gresham versus Emeritus it was in Copenhagen for Body Slam wrestling, and I was sick as a dog when I refereed that match, and I was sadly I could not perform at my best on the match, and Gresham gave me feedback about it, and of course, like obviously as he should, because like I will admit that like I could not perform on the level that the match deserved, and I wanted to, but like during the whole day I'd be getting sick, and not to go into too many graphic details, but like I was genuinely worried that I was gonna soil myself in the ring as the match was on, because I was it was very close that I was gonna, before the match, that I was thinking like I'll give this match to the other referee, but I sucked it up and thought like it's a once in a lifetime opportunity,
right?
And I wanted to do it right, and I felt okay at that time, but I know, and I could tell when I was in the ring that I was not working 100%, and Gresham could tell it. I was not working 100%, and I talked to him about it. I mean, like, and he was cool with me and all that. And I mean, I met him back in WWE 4, way back. I mean, I hadn't seen him for 10 years, but he was at WWE 4 as one of Hugh's assistant trainers, and he obviously worked in local indies there, and was at the school a lot. He wasn't the name talent he was then as he is now, but it was fun meeting him after so long. But I'm only saddened by it that I couldn't give him the performance that the match deserved and he deserved.
I gotcha. Well, I mean, maybe a better experience, maybe a more intimidating experience. You were in the ring with Meiko Satomura.
Yes. It was at WrestleAid, yes, in Rauma. And yeah, that really was one of those moments of, I mean, she's just a legend,
Right.
and it is, I mean, it was so, in a sense, it's so unreal when you are in the ring with people that, I mean, you watched and you followed, and it's such a respected name. But once you're in the ring with them, it feels so just business as usual. It is such a weird, like a weird contrast there. And she was just a nice person backstage, and after the match, shaking her hand and thanking her for the match, and she just bowed and thanked me, and immediately went to Starbuck. I mean, just considering how long she's been wrestling and at the level she is, she wanted his opinion of the match, and just humbly went off to him like, feedback, please. And I remember that moment because, man, that's just no ego there, right there. I mean, even someone who's worked that long and is such a big name, and you still want feedback. You still humbly want to hear, the promoters' feedback about the match, what you could have done better, what you could have done differently. And that's just we should all strive to be like that. That is that, like, you are always wanting to learn. You want to put your ego aside, and because we're always constantly learning, and even at that stage of our careers, we can still be learning if we want to learn.
Now, being the third man in the ring, you are, in the ring with two other people that are being very aggressive with each other. Can you tell us about maybe any unexpected or unexpected rough bumps?
Well, last year I think it was early December or November, the events those two events kind of blur together, which it was. Jack Veneno, actually, I was between him and the ropes. I was trying to move away because I was in a odd position, and I was trying to make myself move out of the way, because you don't really want to be standing too close to the wrestlers when they're engaging each other.
Right.
And he spread his arms out like in a very aggressive manner, hostile manner against his opponent, and he hit me right underneath the eye, and I got and it it bruised me in the eye. I had a black eye for a good couple of weeks after that, because he got me really good there. He didn't even notice that he connected with me, because he just kept on rolling, and I just kept refereeing but yeah, I immediately, when he hit me, I immediately could tell that, like, yeah, he got me good. And but that is one of those things where, like, I mean, stuff just happens, and that's the kind of, in many ways, the beauty of wrestling is that it is that unexpected and that unscripted part of it that brings something to it when it's live in front of you, no second takes, no rehearsals, no reshoots, and then it's just people. Like in a sense, I remember someone who talked to me and who described in many ways that, like, wrestling is kind of like jazz music, in a sense that I mean everyone needs to do their part, and then they can just read off each other, and if you know where you're going together, then you can create some fantastic music where you can, like, feed off each other, and everyone can take different parts, and you can have solos, and you can, like, adjust and adapt together, and that's and there's a lot of similarities there, where you find harmony by just having people that know what they're doing, and then put them in a room, and just magic happens together. They have this idea of what they want to do, and then they together just the sum becomes greater, the whole becomes greater than the sum of its parts in many ways, and that's one of the things I really love about wrestling, and being one of those parts, playing my little part, my little role there to enable the magic to happen is I mean, it's so much fun, and I get to have the best scene in the house, and I get to be part of the energy that the wrestlers feel when the crowd is roaring, when they are caring about what happens, and I get to feel that. I get to, like, ride that high with them, and it is so much fun.
Now, a unique experience that you had was that you actually refereed inside an octagon for an MMA event. I believe that was televised. The match was Starkadder versus Zeus. Can you kind of tell us about that experience?
Yeah, that was. I've actually had a couple of events where we had. This was my first octagon match, but we've had a few matches where I have refereed wrestling matches in a boxing ring on boxing events in Estonia, and there is something really. It was a fun experience, very absurd experience, but also in many ways it was it was kind of a downer, because do you know, I think the best way I can describe it is, like, if you go to, like, a magician's watch a magician's show, and everyone in the crowd already knows the secret to the magician's trick, and there is kind of there's the air is out of the balloon, in a sense. There's no magic there, and that was kind of like the biggest problem I had with that match was, I mean, Starkadder and Zeus were doing their darndest with what they got, but, like, the crowd, they've just witnessed, like, shoot MMA fighting or shoot boxing, and the contrast between that, like genuine physical, like legitimate sports, like combat, and then contrasted to this more dramatic, kind of like a more like a dramatization,
right?
Where you can kind of tell, you can contrast between the real deal and the wrestling, that this is more showmanship, this is more entertaining. You can kind of tell. And they are not wrestling fans, they are MMA fans, they are boxing fans. And even though, and they just don't react the same way. They were sitting on their hands for most of the time, because they're not wrestling fans, so they don't know what to cheer for. They don't know what to look for. They haven't been taught. They're not wrestling fans, so they don't know. And I mean, afterwards they came and took picture with Starkadder and Zeus, and they thought they were really cool, and they thought the match was great. But like, as we were in the match, it felt so inflated because like the crowd only really reacted when the guys like kicked or punched each other, or as close as they could have gone, when they like chopped the hell out of each other. And it's just such a weird feeling being in a match where like you're the only guys like trying to maintain the facade, and everyone else is just not, like, they just know it's fake, and they just don't care. It was such a bizarre feeling in many ways. But I also think has been a very valuable moment, because I think if nothing else, I think many times wrestling fans and wrestling promoters, we can kind of get stuck in our own bubble, where we think like, because we're used to following what happens in the wrestling world from dirt sheets and from discussions and podcasts and interviews. And we get so used to the idea that, like, of course, we know what's going on in New Japan, or what's going on in WWE, or what's happening backstage. And for most people, like, they haven't got the slightest idea of any of this happening, and they don't care. Maybe they care that Rock was on Raw when it debuted on Netflix, but that's it, if they even know about that. And in a sense, it is kind of healthy to sometimes, you just pop that, that illusion where you think like everything revolves around wrestling, or that, you kind of get like a reality check where you realize that, yeah, we still have a long way to go in making believers out of non-believers when it comes to wrestling. That there's still a lot of people out there that don't have any idea what this is, or that they even care what it is.
Was there any difference? Excuse me. Was there any difference working in an octagon or a boxing ring compared to, a pro wrestling ring?
Not so much for me, other than that, like, the floor is stiff as hell. So like the poor wrestlers, I mean, like, you're not taking a lot of bumps in a boxing ring, that's for sure. You may take one, and then then you feel it. Same thing with the octagon, because like there's no give there. Those ropes are loose, so you really gotta, in a sense, you gotta brawl, and then you gotta work chain wrestling. And you're kind of limited depending on how good you are, you might be very limited to what you can do, but you can't really do the full spectrum of pro wrestling. And but someone like Starkadder, he's been to Japan, but he's also one of those people that he's a 20-year veteran in Finland, and he's one of those unsung heroes in many ways, because I've seen that guy when one of these boxing events we were running. One of the wrestlers couldn't make it, and I was going to referee Starkadder against the other guy. And we decided when we were going there, like, what are we going to do? We can't have a show with just one wrestler and one referee. And one of the boxing promoters, we jokingly suggested, like, maybe we'll do a old school challenge where, we'll take a volunteer from the crowd and, wrestle 5 minutes. And we laughed first, but then we realized that we're actually going to have to do that, because otherwise we're just going to be, just stuck at the event doing nothing if we don't get an opponent for Starkadder. And yeah, Starkadder could get 5 minutes out of this boxing promoter, who he used to be a boxer, but like he was retired and way past his prime. He had no experience wrestling, and Starkadder could get 5 minutes out of that guy. So 5-6 minutes he got out of it, and it was amazing to see him carry someone completely green. That was completely green to a 5-6 minutes match, and it was amazing to behold. And I think he doesn't get nearly enough credit as a talent, just how good he is as a wrestler. And I just wanted to mention him, especially there, because I mean, not only is a good human being, but like I said, as a wrestler, he's just one of those people that really deserves more attention to him. And I think it's just, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just, in many sense, he's a very humble guy. He's a very quiet guy and doesn't make much noise about him. But like once you get him in the ring, I'm like, man, that guy is. I mean, he's as solid as you get, and like ridiculously good. And more people should know about him. But especially when you see moments like that, you just have to stare in disbelief when you see him.
Oh yeah, for sure. That being said, has there been any thing that being the referee that you may have had to call an audible, or in the ring while something was happening?
Sure. There have been moments like that, and I'm trying to remember which something in particular. I think. Well, this is probably a less dramatic moment, but it was one of those things where, I mean, I didn't even think about it, but at the same time, it was just like training kicking in, because last year we had two guys who were it was their second match. Both were on their second match, and so very green. And Starbuck asked me to be the referee match, so I could guide them in the ring and I could communicate with them and give, tell them to work slower or make more noise and just help them out where I could in the match. And as the finish, it was just supposed to be like just a basic pin. But the problem was the pinfall was so close to the rope that the guy was getting pinned. His foot was actually underneath the rope. But I saw it, but I counted it anyway to 3, because I know it was one of those moments where I could have, if I wanted to be really pickle about it, strict about it, I should have cut it off. Because, foot is in the ropes. Oh, it's not a pinfall, keep rolling. But at the same time, I knew these were rookies. I knew this was the finish. And I knew that if I didn't count the 3, I would leave them hanging. And then it was kind of then I would just kind of leave them by themselves to figure out what to do next. And in a sense, I can't be that strict with the rules. I mean, especially with that's the beauty about professional wrestling rules is the referees have very big discretion with their decisions, how they call them. And that was my discretion to call it at that point. And backstage, another of the wrestlers came up to me and said, I saw what you did there. That was really good. That, he saw the foot was on the rope, but you counted anyway, because just as I said, he knew that if I didn't count it, they would have been in trouble. They wouldn't know what to do at that point, because that was the finish. And they're too green to be calling it calling an audible there, and you help them out in the moment. But yeah, there have been more serious situations there, and luckily there have been concussions where I've been in the matches. And I remember a moment, I wasn't the referee in the match, where when the wrestlers in another company broke his leg, but he just kept on wrestling after that. He just kept wrestling in the match because he was so high on adrenaline, and he just wanted to finish the match. And I don't remember what the other referee did. He just miss it, the broken leg, or did he just not think about it? I don't remember. He's not working as a referee anymore. But it was a very weird, especially watching the video where you can tell you can tell that the leg is in a weird angle. It's broken from the shin, and yeah, it looked brutal when he did some of the moves, and you could see the foot dangling there. And it's amazing, like, guy can still walk these days, because that could have been. I mean, the leg was already broken, but you can, more can happen with it if it keeps, if something goes wrong, even more wrong. So yeah, that was a nasty one.
Yeah, I would definitely say so. I think it's time for Tim's Bizarre Adventure. You're a pro wrestler that goes up and down the. You're a pro wrestling referee, I should say, that goes up and down the road, and weird, crazy, and bizarre things are bound to happen. Can you tell us a road story that fits that description?
Road story like that. You know what? I'll actually finish off probably telling my craziest event that I was on. I remember when I talked about promoters that didn't run as well as Finland, and one promotion I went to when I showed up at the event, when they got in the ring there to the event, they realized that they forgotten half the ring at the warehouse where they keep it. So they didn't have any ropes, they didn't have any boards, and they didn't have any canvas. But other than that, they had the ring. So they quickly scrambled to go and get the rest of the ring. Then we realized the venue was double booked, and there was some band that was going to play there while we set up the ring. And there were fans of the band at the event, at the location. While we were setting up the ring, that we're not going to be there for the wrestling. And we set up the ring, and the security comes and says, "Can you move the ring, because it's a hazard." So we moved the ring from the center of the location, or to the side. And after that, they come back in a moment and say, "You got to remove the ropes. It's for security reasons. Got to remove the ropes." Okay, so we remove the ropes. Another half hour goes by. Security comes up and says, "I'm sorry, you got to tear down that ring." So we tear down the ring, and the band plays, and the company tries to put out on social media that because it's double booked, we're starting 2 hours later. And of course, people are not going to read that. But so people started showing up at the event at the time that we're supposed to, but they couldn't come in because the band was playing and the door was closed because, there was another event going on.
Right.
And we wait for the band to finish, and we have half an hour to set up the ring before the show.
Oh, God.
And while we're setting up the ring again, the band, the fans of the band are still at the venue. They're drinking, they're drunk, they have no rush to go anywhere. So we're dodging them while we're trying to set up the ring. And while at the same time, all the wrestling fans are outside waiting to get in. And this venue has glass doors. So we can see them. Their faces are stuck, or the faces are glued to the glass doors. And they are watching us as we're running to set up the ring, just dashing to set up the ring as quickly as possible. And the promoter decides, while we're doing this, he decides that the heels needs to wear lucha masks, so we maintain kayfabe. So, yeah, there you are. Half the guys are running around with lucha masks, so that the fans outside don't get. Kayfabe at this point is like, who gives a shit? Because we just want to get the ring set up, and we dash to get the ring together. And miracle of miracles, we get the ring set up, and the show itself goes off without a goddamn hitch. But like everything leading up to the show was just a complete disaster. And yeah, this was not the first time this company had something of a similar type. But yeah, this was definitely one for the ages, where you were like, running around with half the guys wearing lucha masks, dodging like drunk fans, and you're just thinking like, what am I doing here? This is so bizarre.
Yeah, definitely a bizarre adventure to say the least.
Yeah.
Maybe not such a bizarre experience. You were featured in the newspaper. I kind of feel like, when you're on, like a news article online, that's one thing. But when it's black and white in your hands, I feel like that hits different, no?
Yeah, yeah, it actually is. It is, and it was fun also getting a lot of feedback from people that like that know me that aren't wrestling fans, that are either like they know about me, or like from other different areas of my life, and like even they read the article and gave me positive feedbacks and positive thoughts. Even my fiance got from people that she knew that I don't know, told her they read the article and liked it very much. And it was yeah, it was very very fun being part of that, and getting to tell my story there. And I like the part about like the journalist that wrote the article also told me that uh, I mean, it makes for a good story where in a sense, like wrestling. I mean, it sounds so dramatic, but wrestling kind of saved my life there, in the sense that like I was very aimless before I found wrestling. I mean, I had been a fan earlier on in my life, but it like kind of faded away, and then come back and kind of faded away. But back then, like in 2011, 2012, that's when it really, really hit off for me. And that's when the idea of, going to the United States and getting training really, really setting. And those 3, 4, 5 years before that, I just had no goals. I had nothing to aim for. I was just drifting. Like, I don't know where I'd be if wrestling hadn't given me something to aim towards. So even though it sounds kind of dramatic, because it wasn't like a life or death thing, like a drug addiction or something like that, but it saved my life in the way that it gave me goals. It gave me something to look towards and something to aim for, and it kind of built on there. And once you had like, it gave me a positive feedback loop, so to speak, and I could be and tell my story there. And he said that like that made the whole story. Because nothing's more boring. I mean, everyone knows wrestling. Nothing's more boring than a story where everything goes fine.
Right.
You need those twists and turns. You need those ups and downs for a good story. Everyone loves a good comeback story. So, and he said like that's really what sold the article and what sold the story for him. So yeah, it feels really good having people commenting on that, how honest and how positive the story was.
All right. Now, being a referee, you're supposed to be, impartial. Can you tell us about that time you aided Jack Lupa by pushing him on a cart? Jake Lupa.
Yeah. Jake Lupa, yeah. It was. Oh man, yeah, that match with him and Stanislav Dobronek. I mean, like, I love both those guys, because they're just. I mean, not only. I mean, both those guys are just so hilarious, and and especially the way Stanislav wrestles, it's just. I mean, man, that guy busts me up. I mean, like I bust laughing every time that guy is wrestling, and but yeah, it was such a mixture of like hardcore brutality and then just these bizarre like comedy spots, and yeah, like and I mean, it's different stuff like that. I mean I mean, that's what makes matches like that so much fun. That makes it like brings spice or like some variety to the shows. Like don't get me wrong, like I'm pretty old school when it comes to refereeing and wrestling in general, but like I'm not I'm not against comedy in wrestling. It just needs to be done the right way, and most of the stuff like if it works, it works. If it's stupid and it works, it's not stupid. And that's an expression I heard at some point. I think I really agree with that. I mean, because you have to be kind of very open-minded when you do wrestling, because it is a business where you never know where you can get inspiration from and who you can get inspiration from, and you can have moments like that. And even though it is a small moment, but it is a moment that people remember and that lives on in someone's memories, if not on social media. And I mean, you can never replicate that moment. I mean, sure, we can have Jacke and Stanislav and me repeat it at some point, but it's not going to be the same, because I mean that unique moment we had there. I mean, it's never coming back. We shared that one moment with the crowd, with that moment, and now it just lives on in memories, and it feels fun being part of those moments and creating something unique for a brief moment. For a brief moment, we all share something, and then it's never coming back. It's kind of beautiful, even though it is a funny spot. But it's also, the idea behind it. I mean, it's very beautiful, I think.
All right. Now you could correct me if I'm wrong here. Doctor Who fan?
Doctor Who?
Yes. Are you a fan
Yes,
of Doctor Who?
I'm a fan of Doctor Who, or what are you asking?
Yes. Are you a fan of Doctor Who?
Yeah, actually, yes, I am. I don't even know how you know that. I'm amazed you know that. Yeah, I mean, it is one of those things where it has been on the back burner for a while now, but like, yeah, I mean, like I was a big fan of especially the classic series. I watched every episode from the first William Hartnell episode all the way through, all that I could find, and yeah, it is. I mean, there is something. I don't know what it is about the show that I really enjoy. I mean, in many ways, I enjoy it because, I mean, in a sense, I could relate to the Doctor as a character, because I think, because he's such a fish out of water, such an eccentric, often misunderstood character that, I mean, uses his intelligence to solve things, yeah, and there's just something about that character that really appealed to me, and still it was could be very, very emotional and very dramatic, and it felt like, with the police box as a time traveling device, the TARDIS is. There's something very. It's such a simple, brilliant device of transporting the characters into new locations, into new adventures, and it's like an endless supply of a constant supply of new adventures, and it's just it's I mean, like that and so much more that I think. And I think in many ways, like I'm not as big fan of the new series. And I watched up, like, it's just in many ways, I think something's lost with the new series, where it feels like it's just, in many ways, it feels too fast. And many of the episodes I liked with the old format. I liked that they were the longer episodic format, where things had time to build and develop, and it wasn't in such a hurry, the show. Whereas the new series feels a lot more rushed. It feels a lot more. It has a lot more ground it needs to cover in a shorter time, and things don't really have time to breathe as much. So I think something's been lost there. So, but yeah, I'm a really big fan of the classic Doctor Who show, and I must say, I'm genuinely surprised that you know that you knew that.
Hey, I do my research here.
You clearly do. You clearly do, which is a positive thing. Like you did say before the interview that this wasn't going to be your average interview, and you were absolutely right. In a lot of interviews, it is kind of like basically repeating the same stuff and going through the same things, and very refreshing to be able to talk about other subjects as well. Absolutely fun.
Oh yeah, and I'm honestly impressed that, you're actually a fan of the OG Doctor Who's. Usually when I talk to somebody, they start with Matt Smith, which is maybe over a decade old now. But he's only he was like the 10th Doctor at that point. So I mean, there was still 9 people before him.
Yeah, no, Matt was the 11th Doctor. David Tennant was the 10th. And for most people, it's either Matt Smith or David Tennant that they start with. I mean, don't get me wrong, I like David Tennant and Matt Smith too. But it's just, in many ways, it feels like I said, it's not so much the Doctor himself, it's more just the way that the shows are written these days. Or at least in the new series, where, like I said, it feels very rushed, and it feels very like there's too much ground to cover. And I remember talking to another Who fan about this, and he said he felt the same way, that in many ways there was there was this episode called "Let's Kill Hitler" from Matt Smith, and there was just in the first 10-15 minutes there was so much happened there that that would have been just 1 or even 2 episodes of the classic Who, and it was just all crammed into that cold opening segment, and it was such a mad dash because it's in such a rush to get everything in. You gotta get all your shit in.
Right. That being said, who's your favorite Doctor?
I gotta say, Tom Baker. I actually had back 10-15 years ago, I had a long scarf just like him. I asked my mom to I bought several scarves, and I asked her to combine them into one long scarf like Tom Baker had. So it was, there was really something about his Doctor, because he felt he really felt like he was an alien playing a human being. There's something just Robin Williams when he was in Mork and Mindy.
Yeah.
Have you watched Mork and Mindy?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And it's the same thing when he auditioned for the role. They say he was the only alien that auditioned for the part, so that's why he got it. And I think that's the same thing with Tom Baker too. Is he really felt just such an odd, eccentric character with the most hilarious lines, but still he felt like he had this a seriousness about him. And because it is a really hard part to play in many ways. You're supposed to be be able to balance so difficult you're supposed to be both funny and entertaining, and then be able to, in the blink of an eye, somehow present yourself this ancient, timeless being that is more powerful than people to give him credit for. And it's such a challenging role to take on, that I really admire those that have risen up to that challenge.
All right. Now I think it's time for the colossal question. Let's say they're making a movie about you. Every movie has a soundtrack. What would be the first 3 songs on your movie soundtrack?
First three songs. Wow, I'm not sure if I could name you songs, but I could name you like three bands that I could use. I would really want to use Kent. One, it is a Swedish band, and they are from Eskilstuna. It's a city in Sweden. It's an hour from Stockholm, and I actually used to live there when when I was up till I was 10 years old. I lived there, and it is if there's people listening there who hasn't listened to Kent, you should seriously try them out, because even though you don't understand the lyrics because they sing in Swedish, they have released some albums in English, but just the music itself is so it's very, I would say, dreamy in many ways. It is rock music, but it is a very dreamy soundtrack. It's a very unique soundtrack, especially combined with the lyrics, which are very very abstract in many ways. But I would definitely use them.
Okay.
And another band I would use is Vangelis. I would use Vangelis because they can just be a Tangerine Dream. I'll put them both there because I'm a big fan of electric music, especially like instrumental ambient music. That's really my jam, and I think they would capture my how should I put it? Well, I just me in many ways. Just what is going on inside my head, because I think I would use them, because I think those different parts, especially Vangelis covers, well, actually Tangerine Dream do, honestly, when we think about it. They both cover very good movies. Blade Runner, and when it comes to Tangerine Dream, like a lot of electronic music, like Street Hawk, the intro theme. I don't know if you know the TV show Street Hawk.
That I probably don't know.
Okay, but it's from it's one of those one season shows that like tried to copy Knight Rider basically, except with a motorcycle, except for a car. But
I know that.
But
one.
yeah, but like. Yeah, but like just the intro music that they played for Street Hawk, it's just it's just fantastic, and they so effortlessly go between like catchy movie soundtracks like Risky Business, and then they put on more experimental ambient sounds, and that is just like trips basically, and I think that kind of goes for Vangelis too, where he used electronic music in places where in many ways you'd think they don't belong, like Chariots of Fire, and then it just fits anyway, and it becomes iconic. And I think I would use those three. I mean, no particular songs from them comes to mind which I would like to use, because like I can't decide. How do you decide between favorite children? but yeah, I think I would pick those three.
All right. Now that we have the soundtrack down, everybody knows you get the soundtrack first, then you write the script, and then you go to casting. Who plays you? And you can't say yourself because you are obligated to make a Stan Lee-esque cameo.
Yeah. I guess Pedro Pascal does every part these days, so I mean, I would guess we would have to go with Pedro Pascal, but like, but no, I'm kidding. Well, I don't know. Maybe like what's the guy who plays? Oh man, I remember his name. What's the guy who plays Wilson Fisk on Daredevil?
Vincent something.
Vincent D'Onofrio. Yeah, Vincent D'Onofrio. Yeah, I get him. I think he would get in. He need to lose a little bit of weight, but yeah, I think he would be excellent because I mean, I think he's fantastic as a Wilson Fisk, and I think he was. I'm like, man, like basically every role he's played, even though like I mean, like he's had small parts, but like he was in what was that? Oh man, what was the Kubrick movie? The war movie. Full Metal Jacket. Yeah, he was in that, and like and I don't think a lot of people know that's the same guy. But he's just every part he does, even those small bizarre parts he plays. He was in Adventures in Babysitting, and yeah. I think he knocks it out of the park in every part he plays because he just gets so immersed into his parts, and I think he would. I mean, like for better or worse, I think he would do an amazing job being capturing me just because he's just such a phenomenal actor. And it helps that he kind of looks like me too.
Now that we have you casted, every movie has a supporting cast. Who would be 3 people significant to you and your story that would be in your movie, and who would play them?
My fiance would probably have to be played by Jennifer Connelly because I am very lucky that way that my fiance reminds me of Jennifer Connelly.
Okay.
And and then I guess Starbuck would be played by. We actually could play Starbuck. I mean, honestly, I could have the guy play himself, but like,
I mean, technically he is an actor.
But that would be too simple. It would be too simple to just put himself. I think. Let's see now. Who could we have that will play him? Maybe. Chris Hemsworth would probably play that part. Okay. I think he could actually pull it off. He doesn't get to play Hulk Hogan, but he gets to play Starbuck. And then who else could we have in there? Another influential character. Honestly, well, I guess that would be Curtis Hughes in them, and he will be played by Denzel Washington, of course.
Oh yeah. All right. This is sounding like a great movie. A blockbuster to say the least. And
yeah.
And you could pre-order the tickets now.
Oh yeah. That would be fantastic.
On to a controversial subject. Pineapple on pizza. What's your stance?
No. I've had it, and if I can choose, I will not have pineapple on my pizza. I'm sorry, but this might be a controversial opinion, but no.
All right, so we are very anti-pineapple on pizza.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. I mean, my kids like it, and my fiance likes it, but I don't understand why you would put something sweet on it. It's like it's supposed to be salty. Pizza's supposed to be salty. I don't understand.
What's your spirit Pokemon?
My spirit Pokemon. Wow. Magikarp, probably. Honestly, I think that would probably the closest one. Yeah, man, I used to watch Pokemon when I was young, but but after Gen 1, I haven't really kept up, honestly. But I just thought Magikarp was such a hilarious Pokemon, and in many ways, it does kind of reflect on me because I enjoy not doing anything when possible, unless it is something I really enjoy doing, and then I enjoy doing as little as possible.
All right. Will this question you'd be asked on a a wrestling interview, hopefully. Would you
Yeah.
ever referee a match with a Rock? Not Dwayne Johnson, not the country, an actual physical Rock.
Actual physical Rock. I mean, if that's what the Booker wants now, I guess for doing that. I mean, it would certainly be an interesting match, but it is also one of those things where, like, I mean, when like Bryce Remsburg refereed Invisible Man versus Invisible Stan, I mean, like that match. I mean, like I mean, it is in many ways, it is like wrestling as an art form, taking it to this most absurdist extreme in many ways, where like we are completely imagining the wrestlers, and just the only thing telling us what is going on in the ring is the referee's actions. He's the only one who can give us any visible signals about something happening in the ring, and in many ways, that match shows how vital the referee can be as part of the storytelling of a wrestling match. And I mean, it will surely be an interesting challenge, if nothing else, and a good story for the next interview, if nothing else. So, I mean, the question itself is, I mean, it will be a very absurd match to have, but just like Invisible Man versus Invisible Stan, I think, I mean, it is one of those things where you will be truly testing like boundaries when it comes to like what really is professional wrestling, what, like and how far can you take it before it's not wrestling anymore.
Well, just for context, there is a wrestler named Psycho Mike that wrestled a Rock for over 15 minutes in a Tungsten Man match. That's an Iron Man match that lasts for 2 weeks.
It sounds like, I mean, was this on DDT or what promotion was this? Was this DDT?
No, it wasn't DDT. It's Canadian pro wrestlers trying to do something during the pandemic. So it's basically YouTube. They called it Backyard Pro.
Okay.
So it was definitely an interesting thing that came out of the pandemic that I still love.
Yeah, I'll say. I mean, it like one of those things that was really part of the pandemic that has been going on. Basically, it's non-existent now. Is all those cinematic matches, for instance, like that's a part of wrestling we're hopefully never getting back. Not because of the matches per se, but obviously the whole pandemic thing. But like, it was also one of those things where, again, like the boundaries of what is a wrestling match was tested and tried, and I mean, because I mean, you want to say, I mean, traditionally you want to think that, I mean, wrestling needs to be live in front of an audience, otherwise, you know, doesn't make much sense because you want that audience reaction. It's kind of the whole point of the match is to, you know, get emotions out of the crowd, get a reaction out of the crowd, and take them on that ride. And no crowds, and it's not only, you know, pre-recorded, it's edited, but still you can tell stories that way too, and you can tell stories you couldn't otherwise tell. But obviously, those are not possible to do in front of a live crowd. So if you have a live crowd, you can't do those matches anymore. And but yeah, it was certainly like an interesting brief window in wrestling when even WWE was doing matches like that.
Right. On a more serious note, where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Hopefully NXT UK, hopefully NXT Europe. I mean, there's obviously after NXT UK went the way of the dodo. I mean, there's been a lot of talk about the potential NXT Europe, and like I haven't heard anything in a while. I do know of referees that were part of a tryout. Was it last year, no, the year before, when they were in London. They were part of tryouts, and they're apparently going to have tryouts again this year when they're coming to Paris. And it would be nice to be able to work in Europe and to do this for a living, because yeah, I mean, what's there to say? I mean, I want to do this more, and I want to do this more often, and I would like to travel and get paid for the pleasure of doing what I love to do.
Oh yeah. Alright. And since we are nearing the conclusion of this interview, we are wrestling with the 8 questions of doom. This is our speed round, our bonus round, the round where we see who you really are. Are you ready?
All right.
Excluding yourself, greatest wrestler of all time.
Undertaker.
Worst wrestler.
Ultimate Warrior.
You're refereeing the main event of WrestleMania. Who are the 2 combatants?
Could you repeat that? I'm sorry.
You're refereeing the main event of WrestleMania for the World Championship. Who are the 2 combatants?
Oh, Gunther and Ryan Danielson.
Okay. If you could come out to anyone's entrance music, past or present, who would it be?
I actually picked Macho Man's Pomp and Circumstance. It's a classic.
Oh yeah. Finish the sentence. Kayfabe is
optional.
We would have also accepted taste great on toast.
Yeah.
Squash. Vegetable or fruit?
Wow. I was just thinking about them like matches. But, but I mean, it's a vegetable, right? And a tomato is a fruit. I think that's that's at least my stance on the thing.
Is that your final answer?
Yes, I'm not going to be calling a friend. I think I will. I will lock in that answer. Yes.
It is indeed a fruit.
It is a fruit. Wow.
Yes, it has seeds, so tomato logic.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, of course.
Mm-hmm. New Japan wrestler Taichi. His ring gear gets smaller every year, revealing more of himself to the world. My question, what is the appropriate trunks to butt cheek ratio for ring gear?
As long as it covers the taint, I'll allow it.
Okay. And the last question, the main event, the thing everybody wants to know. Have you ever had a conversation with a stranger in a supermarket about Darby Allin?
Not yet, but I hope to.
And as the correct
Because especially here, it will be quite mind-blowing to have that conversation.
And that is the correct answer. That will conclude.
Yay! Did I win?
Yes, you won.
Fantastic.
That will conclude this interview. Thank you so much for coming on and doing this with me.
Thank you for having me. This has been a lot of fun.
Absolutely. And once again, where can we find you on social media and your merchandise?
You can find me at FinrefTim on YouTube, Instagram, and on Twitter. And my merch link is in my profile on all of those. I do not remember the link now because maybe surprisingly, not a lot of people buy referees merch, but like hopefully this interview will change that.
Absolutely. And you don't have to type it into your Google machine. All of the links to all his social media will be in the description of the video below, but on YouTube and Castbox. Simply click the link. A new tab will appear on whatever device you are on. You have no excuse. Buy a damn shirt.
Yes, please.
Of course, thank you for listening. If you like what we're doing, please like, subscribe, comment. But on YouTube and Castbox, this was sponsored by Rogue Energy and Play Along Coffee. Join us next Tuesday and Wednesday for new incredible interviews, and follow the show at Wrestling with E, but on Xthread and Instagram for information on who we're interviewing, when we're interviewing them, links to those interviews, and so much more. Follow me personally at JamesJ993. Alright, when I say wrestling wit, you say entertainment, okay?
Alright.
For our special guest, Teemu Kytösaari, Kaliko Yacht, Scooter Dust, I'm James J, and this has been Wrestling Wit
Entertainment.
Hey folks, this is the Colossal Mike Law, and you are listening to Wrestling with Entertainment. Enjoy the show, support these guys. We appreciate it very much. We'll see you at ringside.